this short video, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot electrical problems. This method can apply with any car, but in this case, I have a 2007 Toyota Prius, which is a little bit more complex because it has the battery, the auxiliary battery. This is not the hybrid battery. The hybrid battery is located in this area here, which is in the trunk that stretches from one end of the, right behind the back seat, and stretches from one end to the other end of the car. The auxiliary or regular battery, the 12-volt battery, is located right behind the passenger rear wheel, and it's a small battery, as you can see here in the picture. It has two terminals like any other battery. This is here is the positive terminal, and on the other side it has the negative terminal. What I have done in this case, I disconnected the negative terminal. Let me put the light. So I disconnected the negative terminal, and to troubleshoot electrical problems and find out where the problem may be coming from. Especially this procedure is best if you have something that drains your battery, and if you try to start your car, the battery is dead, and you have to jump start the car. What I have done is connected a ammeter. I have a multimeter, as you can see here, which I have set into amps, in the amps scale. And to do that, you connect your multimeter to common, and then the other end you put on the 10 amps. If you don't have a meter, you can go to any store and buy a cheap one. Today they sell digital multimeters in the range of $10 to $30, and probably they're as good as this one. Now, what I did, I disconnected the negative terminal from the pole of the battery, and I connected one end of the terminal to the side that is connected to the ground. As you can see here, this particular wire here is connected to the ground. So the red lead is connected to this wire, which is connected to the ground. And the other one, I use a clothes clamp to hold the ammeter, the multimeter terminal to the battery pole. That's the negative pole, or the minus pole of the battery. So as we can see in the reading, it shows that it has 0.53 amps reading. Before you do that, you have to make sure all the lights are off, all the trunk light is off. In this case, I turn the trunk light, which is located in this end, I turn this to off, because if I turn this to on, you're going to see the meter is going to jump. I noticed that when I first connect the meter on, the amperage jumps and then it settles to down 0.53. Let me show you. I disconnected it, it goes to 0. When I connected it, it goes to 1.5. I'm sorry, it got disconnected. Okay, when I connect, it goes to 1.5 amps, and after a little while it settles. And I notice that in the dashboard the open door light comes up. Let me demonstrate something here for you. If I remove my extra light here, and if I take this meter outside and I close my door here, I close the trunk door, Huh. The measurement after a few minutes it went down to 0.53. Probably that's the measurement. You know, it went all down, almost down to 0 volts. Okay, so depending on what you do, it goes from 1.5 to 0 volts, 0 amps. I'm sorry, we are measuring amps here. So that means nothing is draining any current from your battery. Now, if I wanted to continue my measurements, I would put my meter in a location that somebody can read it. And I would go, if I was reading, if something was shorted, there would be some voltage there, right? There would be some current flowing there. So let's assume I went inside my car and turned my light on, the current would increase, right? Okay, so if in your car, this particular car works okay, I have no problem. But if in your car there was a problem, what would you have to do is close the door, the lid, make sure that that circuit is not drawing any electricity, any current, and then you would go to the front of the car. Let's go to the front of the car. And here's where the fuses are. This is the car, and it has fuse boxes. One is on the right hand side. That's where you do the jumping if you ever get stuck. And you would get a pin nose or a needle nose, or you use a tool, a puller, and you would be, actually there is one right built in here, and you use this to pull one fuse at a time while somebody is monitoring the multimeter. When the fuse is pulled, the meter is going to go down to 0 if something was short or something stays on all the time. The other thing you could do is pull some of these relays out. These are relays, and you can pull them out and see if that solves the problem. If the meter goes to 0 amps, that means that was the circuit. Now if you look behind this cover here and you position the cover the same way, this cover tells you exactly what each fuse is for. There's other boxes in the Prius. In the Prius there are some relays here. One of those could be stuck, and also there are fuses underneath the just above in this area, which is the left driver's seat. There's a small cover there, you know, where the foot brake is, the emergency brake. Right above there are some fuses. You have to start pulling those out, and that's a quick way we can find out what may be draining your battery. Notice my ammeter, my multimeter, is showing 0 amps when I have the lead door closed, which means there's no drainage from my battery. I have one of the doors open here. The door itself has a light on the side, on the bottom of the door, but what I did, if I wanted to check the fuses, which they are underneath the car, I took a clamp, and there is, in the Prius, there's a switch. Let me show you. If I remove this, there's a switch here that is right above where the markings are of the car. So you have to make sure that switch is closed, because if that switch is the light down here on the door side, it comes on. So you have to keep that switch closed, because if you have the light on the door on, it draws some current and you will not be able, and also you have to make sure that the lights here on the, there's a lot of sun here, but there's a light there, and there is another one showing something about the key. Now, after I close the door and the switch shuts off, it takes a little while for the meter to go down to zero. It takes a few minutes, I think, about a minute or so, because the circuit, this is all computerized. This is very complicated, these new cars, and probably the computer stays awake for a few minute or so, and then it shuts off, and this normally should go down to about zero amps, and it will do so in a few seconds. So be aware of that. I'm working in a, you see, it changed and it went down to 0.1, 0.0 amps, almost 0.2. Just in case your car doesn't work, don't think there is a problem immediately. It takes few seconds for that to happen. As soon as I open my trunk door, even though the trunk light switch is turned off, what happened is my meter is showing 1.44 amps DC, and as you can see, it goes down to 0.5 something, and it may go down to zero eventually, but be aware of that when you open or close something, you activate probably the computer. It starts drawing some circuitry. These cars are very complicated. It starts drawing some current. So before you start pulling fuses, make sure you have your ohm meter or your multimeter outside the car. Close the lids can go through this plastic rubber, no problem, because this is soft and the lids can go through here. So you can place this outside. You see, still showing 0.5 volts DC. Maybe because, and the reason it's showing that is because there's a light in the dashboard that shows door is open, and it will stay on forever, and it keeps drawing that current. So be aware of all these little details when you're troubleshooting. Doing troubleshooting, electrical troubleshooting, especially looking for a short that is draining your battery or anything else, the leads of your multimeter may not be long enough. So you want to try this trick. Take an electrical extension wire, like in this case, this is a regular extension wire, and what I did, I plugged the two terminals of my multimeter in the plugs of the extension, as you can see here, and the other end, you can take you can cut the wire here and strip it, and then connect the two ends to whatever you want to troubleshoot, or you can take a thin piece of wire like this, bend a little bit the terminal that way, and make this as long as you like. Put it in one terminal or one area where you want to connect to, and then do the same thing at the other end. Put a little electrical tape all around so it doesn't short. So you have, in reality, you have your multimeter, you have a very long extension, because in this case, in the Prius, the battery is in the trunk and the fuses are in the front. And what I like to do when I do the troubleshooting, I like to keep the trunk lid closed. This wire is thin enough that if you close the trunk lid, it causes no problem. And I can have the meter right next to my fuses, where I can see every time I pull a fuse what happens to the reading. Basically, some wire, something like this can help, or copper wire you can strip if you have something else. Again, you can put these two, as you can see, plug them in And if you want to make sure, you can short this too, that this works. You can short this too, put the wire across here, and go to the meter, to the ohms, or this meter has a beeping feature here. If you short this, the meter should beep. Let me just demonstrate for you. If it doesn't beep, it should show 0 ohms. I put it in ohms, so if I short these two ends here, it should be showing. Maybe I'm not shorting properly. Short it. 0. Okay, it should be showing 0 ohms, no resistance. If I go to the beeping feature, it should beep. Let me see. No, it's not beeping. Something is not working right, I guess. Prius, basically I used these two wrenches. This is a 10 millimeter, a 12 millimeter, and this little wrench here, which is 10 millimeter. That's all you need basically to remove or to disconnect the terminal, the negative terminal, and hook up something like this. You may need a clamp to keep, if you are going to be doing the fuses under the steering wheel, to the left under the steering wheel, you need a clip to keep the door switch closed, otherwise the lights will turn on and you're going to have a problem. And you have to let the sometimes you have to let all the electronics that monitor these systems, the computers, they're automatic. They turn on when you either open the door, but they stay on after you close the door for a few minutes, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 minutes.